So I'll move over to my mat and kind of show you what I did again for my setup. So my long rectangular fold and my blanket, went into my mat, and I have a little bit of space here because I'm going to have my low back flat to the floor, and I want this blanket to hit me a little higher up my spine instead of all the way down here so my low back can be grounded. And then, like I said, I made this little 45-degree angle with my chair and my pillow. So when I came down, I'm going to have to scooch my chair in again a little bit. My legs are just outstretched about 45 degrees, and it's nice and soft. It's really comfy. Low back is grounded. So I have my blanket hitting me right at that shoulder blade line, so the upper back, and cactusing the arms off the edges here. I'm going to allow my shoulders, elbows, and the backs of the hands to flop towards the ground. So we can all use whatever we have, whatever is easiest for us, but some little bit of elevation in the legs just to counter the pull of gravity on our lower half of our body throughout our day. This helps improve our circulation. It moves our blood flow and energy flow to our vital organs and up towards the brain. So it's just a nice way to move from our daily activities into our evening activities, to literally help decompress the joints of the lower half of the body and mentally decompress from our day so we can let go of all of our to-do lists, let go of where we came from, and start to give ourselves that gift of being present on our mat for our practice. So once we're comfortable, we've loosened up our clothing. Let's rock that head out, find the very back center of the skull. If we hold tension around the face, the mouth, tongue, and jaw, poof the cheeks up with air. Stick out the tongue. Releasing that lower jaw towards gravity. Eyes are closed. Relax all those little muscles around the eyes. Feel a weight lift off the shoulders and allow the shoulders to sink towards the ground. Heaviness in the limbs, of the arms and the legs. Even if the legs are propped up, just let them be heavy, loose, and hanging. Release any tension down the back of the body. Relax around the abdomen and the belly. Maybe we notice a subtle rise and fall of the belly with the breath. And let's continue to mentally scan our body, relaxing every part of the body. And also taking a moment to acknowledge areas that we're healing or taking care of. Always remembering that we modify and adjust our practice accordingly wherever we are today on our mat. And then let's move this awareness to the rhythm of the natural breath. Just observe the body breathe this evening. Noticing how the breath moves into the body on our inhalation. And how the breath moves out of the body on our exhalation. We're trying to breathe smoothly and evenly in and out through the nose. If we have a prop underneath the spine, we might notice this breath moving a little bit more around the rib cage as the chest is opening and stretching. But let's try to move and feel this breath around the whole torso of the body, including the abdominal muscles, the side muscles, even the muscles of the back expanding and contracting with the breath. So we'll add our Samavriti Pranayama layer on this, or even equal breathing. On that next inhale, mentally counting the number that we are filling the torso of the body up. When we get to our exhale, we try to breathe the same number back out to empty the body. Now, without forcing or straining, I'd like us to try to see if we can mentally count to the number 5 on both our inhale and exhale. If we're not quite there tonight, don't worry about it. We'll just let the intention to be a count of 5 to breathe in. And a count of 5 to breathe out. A nice way to use mental counting in our yoga practice is to add the mantra Om to the count. So as we're counting our breath, we can count 1 Om, 2 Om, 3 Om, 4 Om, 5 Om, and so forth. And now let's all try to cycle through one more round of a complete breath. This time, just simply breathe in as much air as we possibly can. So we might be able to sip in even more air, maybe go up to a 6 Om or 7 Om count. Really feel that expansion, fill the cup all the way up to the brim. And next exhale, same thing. Don't worry about keeping the breath equal. Just take your biggest exhale. Feel free to mentally count it, but really put a little bit more effort in here to clean every last drop out, emptying the cup completely. If the number happens to be the same, that's great, but don't worry about it. And once there is no more breath to empty, gently let go of following, controlling, and counting the breath. Let the breath wander away wherever it wants to go. Start to notice the physical body again, all of the contact points with the body and the props and the floor and ground below. Feel the support of the ground below. And then any small little movements here in our body to let our bodies know we're going to start to wake them up and move them. We can wake up those toes, the fingertips, rock the head side to side. Depending on what position we're in, Some of us may be able to continue to stretch our arms overhead now, just as far as they'll go to the opposite side of the room. And then we can all try to straighten and stretch out our legs a little bit more. So if they're elevated up on a chair, maybe you lift one leg up at a time, or just start pointing and flexing the feet. If you're on pillows, your feet will probably pop off the floor. If you're in legs up the wall, you can do the same, pointing and flexing the feet. Any legs up the wall people, you will want to slide your feet down the wall and open the knees out wide into bound ankle for a moment. Take one more big stretch here. On the exhale, we'll float those arms down. Those of us with our legs on the seat of a chair, we can step our feet to the edge of the chair and rest them there. We might not be able to pull our knees in closer to our body if we're more elevated behind the back, so be mindful of that. But we'll just draw our knees in as close as we can tonight, and then give ourselves a little rock side to side if that feels good for our back. Then bring one arm beside the head, carefully coming off of our props. We'll try to make it into our sleeping baby pose on one side for a moment. Pausing, allowing our blood pressure to regulate here. And then we'll press into the ground, extend that top leg if that helps you to come up. Use your hands to push into the floor. We are going to bring our bodies all the way up. So since we were in inversion, I might just take an extra moment here for our blood pressure to regulate. But we'll take that time to get reorganized. So we're going to come into a seated position, and we're going to move right into our bound angle pose. If you're moving props off your mat from a seated position, just be careful how you're moving around in your space, especially if you're moving any larger objects. So once we're moving into our seat, again, we'll probably want to be propped up on something. The higher up we are, we might also need to take additional support for underneath the knees. So 2 yoga blocks, some pillows, whatever we might need. Bound angle, Baddha Konasana. We'll prop our sit bones up. We'll find those sit bones, readjusting ourselves here. And then we'll draw the soles of the feet towards each other, trying to see if we can make contact with the 3 anatomical points of the feet. So the mound of the big toes, mound of pinky toes, and the centers of the heels. Depending on our flexibility and our posture will depend on how close the heels move towards the pubic bone. Hands come beside the hips. We might be able to lift ourselves up a little higher, rocking even more to the front of those sit bones. So we want our pelvic bowl to be in a nice neutral position, floating that water parallel to the floor. And then moving the hands to the feet or the ankles. We'll take a nice deep breath and sit up as tall as we can through the crown of the head. So we're just going to start to allow those thigh bones to sink down and towards the hip sockets here. The gravity is going to work on helping traction those hips out a little bit. Come back to a steady, even breath in and out through the nose. On the exhales, if there's some physical space to hinge at the hips and bow slightly forward, we may. Keep the extension of that spine long through the front of the spine. If you notice that you're starting to build tension in the body instead of letting go of tension, back out of the pose, bring yourself back into a comfortable place, and reinvestigate and explore. I'm going to take a couple more deep breaths tonight. If you are walking your fingertips forward, hinge at those hips a little bit further. You may continue to extend the hands forward. If we're getting to the point where your belly or head is getting close to the ground, you can add an additional prop out in front of you to support that part of the body. Keep the sit bones connected to the ground, draw in through the low belly to protect the back. One more big breath for all of us. On the inhale, if we've bowed forward, that's going to initiate our movement back up to an upright seated position. So restacking the spine up through the crown of the head, back to a neutral spine. We'll take a hold of our knees, float those knees up, and step our feet wider than our hips. Take the weight back on those hands, and we'll do our little gentle rock here side to side to kind of loosen up the area around the hips. So from here, I'm going to invite us to try to revisit bound ankle pose. If this pose is really challenging to hold and maintain our posture, simply go for your Sukhasana or easy cross pose, no problem. So we'll be in bound angle or any other comfortable seated position, but we should be able to maintain our neutral spine with the element of our abdominal muscles. We'll float our fingertips out to the side, turning the palms up. Let's inhale and reach those arms up to the ceiling. Turn those palms back out. Exhale, fingertips to the floor. Now we'll add a little bit of neck extension and flexion. Inhale, palms up, arms up. Float the chin up, draw the drishti up, but keep the back of the neck long. On the exhale, palms down. Without rounding the spine, just draw the chin towards the chest, stretching the root of the neck. Again, inhaling up, gazing upwards, exhale, floating it down. One more. So the next time we exhale and we bring those arms back down beside us, the chin is down to the chest is lifting up to the chin. Shrug the shoulders away from the ears, even let the arms just hang like wet noodles from the shoulders. Inhale, roll right ear to right shoulder, gazing forward. Exhale, chin comes down through center. Inhale, left ear to left shoulder. And the head can be pretty heavy. Exhaling down. Inhale, roll it to the right. Exhale. Inhale, roll it to the left. Exhale, draw that chin straight back down to the chest. Turn those palms out. Inhale, arms up and chin up. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale to our center. So if you did take cross-legged position, switch the cross-legged feet at this time. If you're still in bound ankle pose, try to keep some energy between those feet. Allow the sit bones to stay grounded. We will go into our seated flowing twist tonight. Inhale those arms back up, maintaining this length up through the crown of the head. Exhale, we'll twist to our right. Fingertips can float down, maybe find that opposite knee tonight. Continue this twist through that neck, eyes open wide, use that peripheral vision. Inhale back up to center. Exhale, nice big twist to the left, wring everything out, all the way up through the neck. One more time to each side, follow the breath. Excuse me. After that last time on the left side, we'll inhale back up to center. We'll meet here. One more time, the palms will touch. We'll exhale our hands to our heart. Uncross those feet or undo bound angle pose. One more time, step those feet wider than the hips. Weight into the hands behind the hips. Rock those knees side to side. All right, so we're going to make our transition to tabletop. We can walk ourselves around, clear our space, add additional cushion as we might need for those knees. Stacking those joints, make sure we have a nice strong foundation. Knees under those hips, a little bit of space between our knees and feet. Now have those toes tucked under or pointed, that's up to you. We'll come back to the rhythm of our breath. On the inhale, we'll relax the belly, lifting from the tailbone to the crown of the head into a gentle back bend. Exhale, draw the tailbone under, pull the belly in, round the back up to the ceiling. Tuck the chin towards the chest, drishti to the belly button. Then really feel like we're breathing that breath up the spine, vertebra by vertebra, creating space between the vertebrae, creating more flexibility and mobility around the hip joints, all the way up the back into the back of the neck. So let's balance ourselves out and then meet in our first child's pose. Take your modifications for child's pose if you use them. Big toes touch, knees are wider than the hips. Add a prop to sit back on, or we'll drop those sit bones to our heels. Continue to reach the index fingers to the front corners of the mat. Melt the heart and head to the ground. Give that forehead some support, whether it's stacked hands or a prop, if it doesn't touch the ground. Let the hips be heavy. Getting a nice stretch here across that lower back. If the arms are extended and we're floating those elbows up, we'll also get some lengthening and stretching here through the side body. One more breath. Now slide those hands underneath the shoulders. Inhale, float the head up. We're going to try to lift the body up and sit up slightly. We're going to move it to thread the needle from child's pose tonight. So it's a little different. If this doesn't work for the knees, it's too much compression, you may do normal thread the needle from tabletop instead, where we bring the one arm under the shoulder and come down like this. If it's okay to remain back here in child's pose, we're going to start with the left arm. We'll turn the palm up and slide it right underneath the chest over to the right. Turn the head so that we're resting on the left temple. Now the right arm can re-extend to the front of the yoga mat. The right arm can stack on top of the left arm. The right hand will be further away from the body than the left hand. Or you can try to let that right arm rest across the lower back. So with those different variations, you can go back to whichever feels best for the shoulders and the body tonight. We should feel this stretch across the outside of the left shoulder, the one that's under the body, whether you're in tabletop position or child's pose. Let's try one more breath. So the right hand's going to do the work. We're going to press it back down right in front of the face to the ground. Press into it. The head looks down and we slide the left arm out. Whether you're in tabletop or child's pose, reach that left arm out. Exhale, bring it back down. So other side, we turn the left palm up to the ceiling. We slide it over to our left, right underneath the chest. Turn your head to the left, coming down on the right temple. Coming down on the right shoulder. Now extend that left hand back to the front of the mat. You can also stack the left arm on top of the right. You'll notice that your left hand is further away from you. Or you can try to drape the left arm across the low back, maybe finding that right hip crease. And we're just allowing gravity to be our friend, again, giving that right shoulder a nice big stretch. One more breath. Left hand back down by the shoulder, right in front of the face. The left hand does the work. Push into it, look down. Inhale, float the right arm out. Whether you're sitting back on your heels or you're in your tabletop, give it a stretch out and up to the side. And then exhale, bring that hand down. Now we'll all crawl forward to tabletop, especially if we're still back in our child's pose, because we got to get some blood flowing back into those legs. So stabilize the hips and the low back. Give that right foot a stretch back straight from the hip. Pressing that heel towards the ground, open up the eye of the knee. Deep breath in. Exhale, right knee comes down. Give that left leg a nice big stretch back there. Ball the foot to the floor. Pressing our heel towards the floor. Big stretch for the back of that leg. Inhale. Exhale, brings the knee back down. Tuck both toes under, walk those hands about 1 hand's distance forward. Press into the ground, draw the belly in, press the heels up, back, and down. Some of us, our first inversion of our day, well, we did one already at the beginning of class, but this one brings our head maybe a little further below our heart, downward facing dog. So an opportunity to let the weight of the head go. Open up the shoulders by drawing them down the back. Pull the belly in, belly to thighs. Feel free to continue to give the backs of those legs a nice big stretch by pedaling those heels, one heel at a time. And then we'll let those heels sink towards the ground. Just bend your knees a little bit more deeply if the back needs a little bit more of a release. Let's take one more breath here. And then inhale, looking forward. We'll baby step feet to hands, hands to feet. Staying upside down in Uttanasana forward fold, or modifying tonight using the support of our elbows or hands on our thighs, your choice. Uttanasana, you may also grab a hold of opposite elbows and ragdoll the upper body. Get her trying to release the weight of the world from our shoulders. Let the weight of the head hang out of the shoulders. Keep those legs nice and strong. Pull in through those abdominal muscles to protect that back. One more breath here. We'll round up tonight, so bend the knees. Place the hands on the thighs with the fingers turned in. Tuck the chin to the chest. Press those feet into the floor, and on the inhale, restack the spine. Rolling up one vertebra at a time. Head should be the very last thing that comes up. Once the head is up, give those shoulders a little squeeze up, purposeful tension. Then exhale, let the shoulders fall away from the ears. Gently float those arms up beside the body, finding our first Tadasana. Check in with the foundation, feet parallel. Energetically, four corners of the feet grounding. Pick up the toes to feel that energy. Let's turn our palms forward tonight. Spread the fingers to continue just a little bit more heart opening. Unlock those knees. Pull up through the quads. Pull the front body to the back body, anchoring the upper buttock down towards the ground. Let the head float. Find a drishti, turn those palms out. Big inhale, reach out as wide as we can and as high as we can. Palms touch. Exhale to center. Right into the one pose we do every class, palm tree pose. Inhale, draw that big circle. This time the heels are going to come up with the fingertips. The exhale, we try to slowly come down. This pose is becoming like second nature to us. The next challenge would be to change that drishti. So when you reach up, you look up. And when you exhale back down to center, you can bring your drishti back to the line of the horizon. Let's do two more. Follow the breath. Try to go a little taller each time and a little slower as we come down each time. One more. And then we'll meet on our next exhale with the heels grounded and our hands back to heart. So we're going to transition into our standing pose tonight. We're going to do Prasarita Padottanasana again. This is the pose we've been kind of concentrating on. This is our big standing straddle split. So we'll probably want to gather up a few stepping stones to use tonight. I'm going to come back to my chair and bring it out in front of the long edge of my yoga mat. But I'm also going to place my 2 yoga blocks down there too. So I have a couple little stages to move through. This, especially for me, is important when I try to come back up out of the pose. Pretty easy to just kind of fall forward into the pose, but it's these lower back muscles that need to contract to pull us back up. So I'm giving myself a couple stages to help with that. So setting yourself up with your props, turning to our long edge of our mat. So when we step out, we have a grip in the feet. Bring the feet together, fingertips touch in front of the heart. Inhale, nice big step out. It might take us a couple steps here to get our feet nice and wide so you can continue to wiggle them out. And we extended the wrist, maybe those ankles are close to that. Just a comfortable place there. Start with the feet parallel to each other. Inhale, breathing. Exhale, hands to hips. Inhale, draw the elbows back, open the chest, but keep the core connected. Turn the toes slightly inward, and then on the exhale, we're hinging from the pelvis. Make sure we're not jamming our knees, the quadriceps are engaged. Inhales, we pause, we create more length, especially through the front of the spine. Exhale, maybe a deeper hinge. When those fingertips might be starting to come down towards our props in the ground, remember, every inhale to maintain the alignment through the spine and create some space. Keep the 4 corners of the feet equally weighted. Avoid rolling to the instep or lateral edge of the foot. If you find that you're back in an inversion, at that point you may release the weight of the head. The shoulders should remain strong, so we should continue to be able to pull the shoulder blades down our back. Fingertips are to the floor. You may walk your hands back between the centers of the feet, aligning the tips of the fingers to the tips of the toes. Keep drawing the belly in, contracting those abdominal muscles so we can stretch out the back. Now, without leaning to one side or the other, just energetically push through the left foot a little bit more. You might notice that intensifies the stretch of the inner left thigh. Now press through the right foot a little bit more. Press the right foot into the ground a little bit more energetically. You might notice that intensifies the stretch on that side. And then see if you can press both feet into the ground a little bit more, equally weighted. One more breath. Next inhale brings us to our halfway lift. So we want to come up about halfway out of the pose. We'll bring our fingertips back onto any props you might have. Elevate the heart. Strong legs, even a micro bend in those knees. On the exhale, one hand at a time to those hips. And then inhale all the way up through the crown of the head. Make sure you're breathing in. When you get upright, inhale even more and reach those arms up. Big breath. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Exhale, hands come back to the hips. We're going to repeat the pose. We're just giving our brain a quick break. Now you may repeat just where we were with hands to hips. Let me show you one variation. If you happen to get your fingertips towards the floor, you may take your Yogi Toe Grip. So this is the peace symbol. Index finger, middle fingers glued together. These are going to be your little grabbers. And you take a hold around the big toe. The palm should be facing towards the center of the mat. The thumbs rest on top. You may be able to get to a position where you have both toes. At that point, you would flare your elbows out. So that's one option. If we're not quite there today, You can also add a chest expansion and instead reach your hands behind the body, interweave all 10 fingers. Now you will not be able to use your hands as support for that back, but when you tip forward, you'll stretch your knuckles up to the ceiling and behind the head, getting into more of the neck and shoulders. And you can also repeat what you did the first time. So if you're moving into it, you just gotta have control over your core. If you're trying that chest expansion, keep those knuckles reaching up to the ceiling. Maybe they fall overhead. If you have those big toes, you're pulling your elbows out to the sides of the room. Good, so we're doing a little different. I like it. Feet are strong, quads are engaged. We're still able to breathe. Those of us that have the big toes, next inhale, just release your toe grip. You'll come up the same way you just did. Fingertips onto your props, halfway lift. Exhale one hand at a time to your hips. If you're in chest expansion, you can exhale, lower your hands back down to the lower back, and then inhale up through the crown of the head so your hands are anchored behind the low back. Inhale to come up. Once we're upright, release that grip if you have it. Let's all inhale, reach up. Big stretch. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale to our center. So let's heel toe. Step those feet in. That's a pretty big stretch for that outer shin and calf as well, especially repeating that pose. And then let it go, relax. So carefully, we'll move props out of our way if they're in our way. And we're gonna do a little different balance work tonight. So I want us to have our mat free of any obstacles. And we're gonna come to the back of our mat that will be facing forward. So this is gonna look just like what it's called. It's called tightrope walking. There is a tightrope balancing pose. We're gonna do the tightrope walking front and back, and then we'll hold and practice the pose. So standing at the center of our mat, we wanna bring the feet as close to touch as possible. Same principles of alignment, quads up, anchor the lower body, front body to back body. Arms are gonna be, our little balancing, help with our equilibrium. Now it's harder to take these steps and make the feet stay connected the whole time. So it's a little bit more challenging. You're walking a tightrope, one foot in front of the other, to bring the heel to the toe, the heel to the toe. It's a little bit easier to walk with some space between the feet, leaving a few inches. Well, at least it seems that way, but it might not be for you. So we're not going very far. We're just gonna go from the back of our mat to the top of our mat. Once you get to the top of the mat, we're gonna try to put it in reverse. Now you can try to have your hands at your heart center. Heel toe, or toe to heel, I guess. And then if the arms, we start to fall off our tightrope, the arms will come out to help. Good. Ooh. Okay, once we get to the back of the mat, pause. We're gonna go forward one more time. So you can try hands to heart. You can even float your arms up, pretend you're holding a ball overhead. If you left a little space between the feet first time, maybe try to keep them connected the whole time. Now, once you get to the top of your mat, let's finish with the left foot in front. Left foot in front. And then when you get there, we're going to try to squeeze, compact, and hold. Float that invisible ball up to the ceiling. Use your arms up to the side or bring them to the heart center. Squeeze the legs. We're just holding, balancing in one spot on our tightrope. I'm all over the place tonight. Not as easy as it seems sometimes. Maybe try to find a moment or a breath of some stillness. So the left foot was in front. If it wasn't, just make a mental note because we're going to do the opposite one, but we're going to walk backwards first. So again, try to find that straight line. Toe to heel, toe to heel. Be careful. You guys are doing good. I feel really, my tightrope is bouncing around all over. Then we'll want to pause when our right foot is in front of our left, opposite foot. We're going to try to hold here. If you're finding this to be really simple and easy, bring those arms up, hold that invisible ball overhead, maybe take the drishti overhead. If you're not flailing all over the place like I am, maybe add some movement to challenge your balance. If you are moving quite a bit like I am, I'm going to try to find as much stillness as I can. One more breath. And then on the exhale, we'll release the pose, float those arms down with the overhead, stand with the feet hips width apart, coming right back to Tadasana, and just pause for a moment. Maybe notice how wide our stance feels in Tadasana now, with just that few inches between our feet versus when we had them stacked one in front of the other. Essentially, this is called mountain pose because the top of our head is supposed to be the peak of the mountain, and our foundation is supposed to feel like the wide base of a mountain, that solid and that large of a grounding area around our feet. Let's turn those palms out. Big breath in, reach it out, reach it up. A lot of extension here. Palms touch. Exhale to our center. All right, so we're going to be back to the top of our yoga mat, and we'll transition back down. We're going to do a couple more big poses for our shoulders and do some things else for our legs. So back to mountain pose. Feet are hips width apart. Body is nice and tall. Top of the head is the peak of the mountain. We should feel this big, wide foundation around the base of our feet supporting us. Back to that breath. Inhale. Draw that big circle all the way overhead. Last chance. Drishti up for a gentle back bend. Exhale, micro bend those knees, hinge from the hips, sweeping those arms back around and down to each of our version of Uttanasana, whatever that looks like for us tonight. Next inhale brings us to halfway lift, hands to shins, float the heart, squeeze the upper back. Exhale, bend the knees, find that mat, big step back, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. One breath here. Maybe make your dog a little bit longer, slide your feet back a little bit more. Next inhale, we're going to hinge forward to plank pose. Just for a moment, floating those shoulders back over our wrists, hovering those hips between shoulders and toes, or drop to those knees for kneeling plank. Take a deep breath in. We are coming all the way down onto our bellies tonight, so bend those elbows back, moving through a Chaturanga Dandasana. So when we come down tonight, stack your hands under your forehead or turn your head to one side and flare the elbows out to the sides. Relax the belly, relax the back, let your heels flop open. We're just relaxing for a moment. So we have done this pose before in class. This is going to be a really big stretch for the front of our shoulders. We might want to grab a smaller pillow or folded towel or something to give our head a little bit of support in this pose. So you have something nearby, you can go ahead and have that closer to you. So extend the chin forward. We're going to start with our right arm, stretch straight out from our shoulder. So it's in line with the shoulder and extending out and away from us. Now the left hand placed down to the ground on the mat in front of the left shoulder. Turn the head so that you're looking to your left. The weight is going to come onto the front of that right shoulder. So I'm going to press into the ground with my left hand and roll all the way onto my right side. So this is where you might want to tuck cushion underneath the head. You can also let the head float. So now we're balancing on the side body. Might be a little bit challenging to balance. You can bend your knees a little bit. The next step is to try to place the left foot to the floor behind the right leg with the knee bent up to the ceiling. There is an option to bend both knees up to the ceiling, trying to come onto the lower back, almost like the lower half of the body is ready for bridge pose. I keep my bottom leg straight, feels better for me. Option, lift the left arm up to the ceiling now, flip the right palm up to the ceiling that's on the ground, and let that left arm fall behind the back again into a chest expansion. You may be able to interweave all 10 fingers behind that back. If it doesn't happen, don't force it. Gravity may also be tractioning out the front of the shoulder. Let's take a couple deep breaths here. So we'll release, same way we went into the pose, reversing out of it. Left arm up, left hand in front of the body, roll back onto the right side. Eventually roll all the way back onto the belly. We can stretch both arms forward out in front of us into a Makarasana, or just stack the hands underneath the forehead or turn the head to one side. Bring the back into neutral, relax the muscles of the back, the buttocks, and let the heels flop open. And then other side, chin forward. Left arm stretches straight up from the shoulder. Start with the palm down. Turn the head so you're looking to the right. Place the right hand in front of the right shoulder, flat to the floor. Press into that right hand. We're rolling all the way into our left side. A little bit of balancing pose. Give your head an extra little cushion if it needs it. If this feels awkward, just bend the knees in, a little bit easier to balance. Or you can try to bend the right knee up to the ceiling, placing the sole of the right foot to the floor. Maybe both knees if you want to try it. Big stretch in front of that left shoulder. Additional option, right arm up. Flip the left palm up that's on the floor. Let the right arm fall behind the body. Maybe they made contact and you're in a chest expansion again with the fingertips interwoven behind you. Or just let gravity traction you out. One more breath on this side. Inhale, reverse out of the pose, right arm up. Exhale, right hand to the floor. Unwind the body, reverse out of the pose. We should all end up back on our bellies, stacking our hands under the head. Come back to neutral, take a breath. And since we're here, let's flatten out the tops of those feet, press the feet into the ground, slide the hands underneath the shoulders. Inhale, breathing. Let's lift that heart into a Cobra Pose tonight. Always good to get a little bit of back bending, back strengthening into our practice every day. Keep breathing here. You may press a little bit more into the ground for a different variation of Cobra, trying to extend a little higher. Or lift the hands up so the back is doing more of the work. One more breath in. Next exhale, let it go. Kiss the mat. Tuck the toes under, tuck the tailbone under, keep the elbows close to the body. Use your core, pull the belly in, and on the inhale, try to press back up. You can move to kneeling plank and then tabletop cat-cow. You can lift up to full plank and shift up and back to down dog one more time. If you're doing little baby cat-cows, give your back muscles an opportunity to loosen. Down dog, you can walk your dog. Down dog, people inhale, heels up as high as they'll go. Stretch out those toes and feet. Exhale, drop the knees to the ground. Flatten the feet and drop back into another variation of child's pose. It works for the body tonight. Hands slide to the feet, draping those upper arms over the lower half of the body. Hands under shoulders, tuck the chin. Inhale, round it up. Once the head comes up on top of those shoulders, we'll shift our weight over to either hip, it doesn't matter, and bring our feet forward. So it's already time to come back down to the ground. We'll move to the middle of our mat. Always an option to come to one side and walk yourself down and then roll onto the back. Or our slow roll down that we do, we plant the soles of the feet, open the knees, squeeze the belly in, reach fingertips forward, and we try to move through one vertebra at a time. Once we get into the ground, adjust your clothing. Long body stretch, arms overhead, legs down the middle of the yoga mat, point and flex those feet. Exhale those arms down, shrug the shoulders down, step the feet in. Draw the belly in, hug the knees in. Little rock side to side. Spinal twist, knees together, feet stay parallel, arms out again like airplane wings. Exhale, knees to the right. Stack a prop under that right thigh if needed. Right hand rests on the top thigh to deepen the twist. Sink the left shoulder into the ground, head turns to the left. We can close the eyes here, start slowing the breathing down. Let the exhale relax the body completely, breathing away any lingering tension we might find. Relax the body. Next inhale, floats the head and knees up to center. If you find you need to do a little scooch in that low back for the other side, do so. Keep those feet parallel to each other. Exhale, knees to the left. Same thing, add props. Left hand to top thigh to deepen the twist. Shoulders should sink into the ground, especially the right shoulder. Head can turn to the right. Close the eyes and just breathe and relax. Next inhale brings the head and those knees back up to center. Realign the head with the spine. If you feel like there's one last little movement you need to give to your body, a happy baby, a waterfall pose, anything else you might need before finding relaxation, feel free to take a moment to do that. Once we're ready to move into final relaxation, use your props if you want to float those legs back up on some support to continue to enjoy an inversion this evening, or slide them up a wall, do so. Use pillows, blankets behind the back, behind the head. If you have eye coverings, add those things to our final relaxation. So we'll take some time here to relax and absorb our practice. I'll use the singing bowl to bring us out when we're ready. For those of us that would like to come to a seat for our Pranayama Mantra and a little bit of seated concentration tonight. So you all know your bodies and your practice very well. So mentally move through everything in this pose to get yourself where it needs to be. Give attention to every body part, softening and relaxing each of those parts of the body, all the muscles, all the bones, all the internal organs. Let a quality of heaviness come over the whole body. Maybe we notice a soft rise and fall of the belly with the breath. Maybe we notice the gentle breath swirling around the nostrils and the tip of the nose. Let a feeling of peace and calm come over the whole body. Let the breath become peaceful and calm. If the mind wanders, gently bring it back to this peaceful breath, giving ourselves permission to take one more moment of our day to let go, to feel a sense of surrender, and to sink into Shavasana. So we'll start to come back to the natural breath in the body. And breathing life back into our body, giving ourselves small little movements at first. The toes, the fingertips, a rock of the head. If we're choosing to come up to a seated position, continue to wake the body up. Give the body another stretch. Another hug of the knees to the chest. Remember to pause in Supta Balasana on one side for a moment before coming up to a seated position. And then keeping those eyes soft or closed, bringing the body back upright and bringing the body into any comfortable seated position. Using props as needed. Our posture is very important when we sit for some time and we move into our Pranayama Mantra and meditation. Find the sit bones. Create space all the way up the length of the spine to the crown of the head. So we'll go for a few rounds of our Nadi Shodhanam, alternate nostril breathing or energy cleansing breath. We start by bringing the hands into Chin Mudra, index finger to thumb, other three fingers extended. Resting the hands on our knees, palms up. And the right hand, we take Nasagra Mudra, middle and index finger together. Thumb, ring, and pinky are our pinchers. Spinning the right hand towards the face, we press the middle and index finger into that third eye center. Resting the thumb on the outside of the right nostril, the ring and pinky on the outside of the left. Sit up tall. To begin, take a breath in through both nostrils. Exhale back out through both nostrils. Close the right nostril with the thumb and inhale just through the left. Close the left, open the right and exhale. Inhale back through the right. Close right, open left, exhale. That's one round. Inhale back through the left. Close left, open right, exhale. Inhale right. Close right, open left, exhale. That's 2 rounds. Continue with your breath and body. We may notice that one side is a little bit more clogged than the other. Just do the best you can to breathe through both sides. If the right arm or head get tired, place that left palm under the right elbow to keep it propped up. And then again, tonight, I'd like our intention to be trying to breathe for a count of 5 on every inhalation through one side and every exhalation through a side. If a count of 5 is a little bit challenging to get to tonight, Don't worry about it, just let it be an intention. And a nice way to bring mantra into this practice and help even that breath out is to count with the Om. For example, 1 Om, 2 Om, 3 Om, 4 Om, 5 Om, and then repeat. So whatever round we're currently on, take the time to finish that full round. That round should finish with an exhale out the left nostril. Whenever you get to that point, exhale completely out that left nostril. Bring both hands back into chin mudra, resting the hands on the knees. Keeping the mind's eye focused on that third eye center, the acupressure point we just created at Agnya Chakra, our place of intuition and wisdom. Sit up a little taller. Correct the posture as needed. Let go of any expression of the face. Let the breath wander away wherever it wants to go, quietly and easily. Feel the weight of the shoulders and elbows fall away from the ears. The weight of the hands on the knees. Notice the contact points with the legs and each other, and with the lower half of the body and the props in the ground below. Let the lower half of the body stay connected to the earth, and allow the upper half of the body, through the length of the spine, to grow upwards towards the sky, vertebra by vertebra. And then we'll finish going through our own Pranayama Mantra. This mantra means that is fullness, this is fullness. From that fullness, this fullness came. From that fullness, this fullness removed. What remains is fullness. If you have the mantra sheet, feel free to softly open your eyes and follow along, or simply mentally follow along. Continue to sit up tall through the crown of the head. We'll take a deep breath in to begin. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat. And then being mindful of our surroundings, let's take a couple more breaths together tonight. Reaching those arms back out beside the body, palms up. Big breath in. Let's reach those arms up as high as we can and gather up everything we need for the rest of our night. Turning those palms back out. Big breath out. Float the fingertips all the way back down to the floor and let go of all that other junk we don't need tonight. And one more time. Inhale, arms up. Palms touch. Exhaling, hands to heart. Humbly bowing the head down to our heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and remembering to be grateful to anyone else that made it possible